Hey everybody, it's Christina from Creations with Christina, and I thought today we would do a quick little card using the Straight from the Nest Cricut cartridge. And first what I thought I would do is just show you how I laid it out on my Gypsy. I'm just going to go ahead and, you can see I was still working on the mat, use the Straight from the Nest cartridge, and we're going to be cutting out the cute little cupcake right here. So I already added that to my mat, and everything I cut out at 2.5 inches. So I have my shadow piece, my regular cut, my first layer, and the second layer. So let's head over to our Cricut and I'll show you how to cut this out. Okay, so I have my mat all set up with my pattern or my cardstock. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and load it. And here's a little tip. If you're using your Gypsy, put a cartridge in, and then you don't have to try to balance your Gypsy and your mat at the same time. You could just hit the load key, but it only works if you have a cartridge right in your machine. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and cut out our images here, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit the cut key. And I have my pressure, my speed and pressure all the way up, even though the speed doesn't matter, and my blade is set at 6. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out my images. Then hit the OK key, and this will go ahead and cut out. Okay, I'm starting off with a card base. My card base measures 4 1/4 by 11, and I'm going to go ahead and score that with my score pal at 5.5 inches. So this is an A2 sized card. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold my card and just score on the, run my bolt folder on the score line. Alright, so I have my card base ready, and then I have a piece of pattern paper and a piece of Ocean Tide paper tray ink cardstock, and that's going to mat right into the center of my card. My Ocean Tide measures, let's see, it's 3 3/4 by 5, and then my pattern paper is 3.5 by 4 3/4. So what I want to first start with is doing a little inking on some edges. So I'm just going to bring out a piece of scrap paper here, and I'm going to ink all of my pieces, including the pieces I cut out with my Cricut. I'm just going to use some Distress ink. This is old paper, and I'm just going to go ahead and ink up the edges, and I'm just using a swirling motion. So if you've never used Distress ink before, you want to have, you can either use one of these Distress ink tools, or you can use, they have those little daubers that you can use those too, or you can even go right from the ink pad. If you go from the ink pad though, you're going to get a little bit of a darker look. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all of my pieces. So that's my pattern paper, and then I'll do the same thing on my cardstock. And then I'll also do my pieces. Now I don't know how well it's going to show up here on the brown cardstock, so I'm just going to go over it lightly, get my little stem there of the cherry, and then I have my shadow piece. And then we have our layer to our cupcake. As well as the little cherry. And I'm just going to do that right with my fingers instead of, because it's such a small piece. Okay, and the last thing we have to do is just ink up the edges of our card. I love the look of the old paper on the craft cardstock. Okay, so now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and start putting our card together. I'm going to first start with putting my layers together of my cupcake. So I'm going to start off with my bottom layer, which is my shadow piece, and this brown piece of cardstock. And I'm just going to use my snail adhesive to put that down. And then I'll also use my glue pen to get these smaller pieces. And then that's going to get layered right onto this shadowed piece. Just like that. And then we have the top to our cupcake. And that's going to get layered right onto here. And then we have our little cherry, and for the little cherry I'm going to use a pop dot. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a pop dot right in the back of the cherry. I know cherries are red, but I wanted this to coordinate with my card or my pattern paper that I was using. Okay, so that's our image all put together. So let's now go ahead and start putting our card together and get rid of that piece of scrap paper now. And we're going to start off with our pattern paper and our cardstock, and I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that down. So I'm just going to layer that right into the center. And then before I adhere that down, I'm going to take a piece of this ribbon. This is Ocean Tide. It also matches the cardstock from Paper Tray Ink. And I'm just going to tie a real simple little knot. Just like that. And I'm not going to trim this off yet. I want to figure out where I'm going to put my image here. So it'll probably just go like that, but hold on one second. Let me go ahead and find a stamp. Okay, so I went ahead and I found a stamp that says Happy Birthday, and this is a Paper Tray Ink stamp, and I'm going to put it right above here, but I want to move my ribbon down a little bit so that it's not in the way when I go to stamp. So I'm just going to stamp with some chocolate chip Stampin' Up! Ink. I'm going to stamp that right up here. And then I can go ahead and move my ribbon back up. Just like that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and adhere this to my card base. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my adhesive right to the back. And then I'll center this right on the front of my card. Just like that. And then I'll go ahead and add my cupcake right down to the bottom. And I'm going to do that with the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. And I'm going to put that right down here at the bottom. And then I can go ahead now and trim my tails of my ribbon here. So there we go. That's our card for today. Thanks for watching another episode of Creations with Christina. See you next time. Bye.